What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, baby. We in here again, We've been on our basketball-ish for a minute now. We back with it again today. And the topic of discussion today is none other than the great Pete MARAVICH. Pistol Pete for some of you guys, you feel me? And I think this video is going to surprise a lot of people. Well, I could be wrong. It surprised me. It's going to surprise us. I'll just say it like that. We need to deep dive into this, you know what I'm saying? Right after y'all like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Man, I'm enjoying just looking back at the history of basketball and catching some of these players, you know what I mean? Because I've been so wrapped up in, a certain amount of players, and it's way more than that, there's this. So I'm digging back, going back and just looking into everybody who left some kind of impact on the game and just seeing what did they bring to the table? What did they do? And what could people might have gotten from them? You know what I mean? From their journey. So yeah, man, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel, guys. And let's get right into this lit content. Old Pistol Pete MARAVICH. Let's get into it. Let's go.
Of his era. He could handle the ball like Kyrie Irving, but with Magic Johnson's passing flair, and on top of everything, he had Michael Jordan's hunger for scoring. But he played before some of those guys were even born, and
Facts.
Many consider him to be the greatest collegiate player ever. His name is Pete MARAVICH. However, everybody called him Pistol, and Pistol Pete played like... In terms of shooting,
I just want to see these moves again, guys. Never mind me.
He was the Steph Curry of his era. He could handle the ball like Kyrie Irving, but with Magic Johnson's passing flair, and on top of everything, he had Michael Jordan's hunger for scoring. But he played before some of those guys were even born, and many consider him to be the greatest collegiate player.
Now you're going to dribble the ball, hand around the ball twice, and then pass it. Man, if that ain't Harlem Globetrotter style, type style of play. And then just to name a few, the names he named off: Kyrie Irving, Magic Johnson, and somebody else he named off. Man, God, Lord.
Ever. His name is Pete MARAVICH. However, everybody called him Pistol. And Pistol Pete played like he was one of the Harlem Globetrotters, as many of his moves were never seen before in the NBA.
MARAVICH, boy, he's got all kinds of moves. What moves does this guy have?
The Pistol was a spectacle, a basketball magician, and one of the biggest stars in the darkest eras of the NBA. This is the Pete MARAVICH story, and why he might be the most talented guard ever. But
Dang.
Darkest eras of the NBA. This is the Pete MARAVICH story, and why he might
play for Atlanta, play for the Celtics, play for the Jazz, went to school at LSU. Okay, I'm learning some things here. These are things I did not know. So, hey, just bear with me on that, you feel me?
Be the most talented guard ever. But before we talk about the Pistol, we first have to mention his father, Peter MARAVICH Sr., who was the biggest influence on his son's career. Pete Sr. was the son of Serbian immigrants, but because of his childhood job of delivering newspapers, everybody called him Press. Press MARAVICH fell in love with basketball as a kid, and he played obsessively, earning a college scholarship and playing in minor basketball leagues in his 20s. In 1946, Press signed a professional contract with the Pittsburgh Ironmen in the first season of the newly founded BAA League, which a few years later rebranded as today's NBA. However, at the end of that season, the Ironmen disbanded, and simultaneously, Pete was born. As a result, Press ended his playing career at the age of 32. Press then turned to coaching, and his love for basketball was quickly instilled in his son. When Pete was only 3 years old, he had already started dribbling and shooting. By 1954, at the age of 7, he had begun playing organized basketball. That year, Pete began training seriously after he told his dad that he wanted to become the best player in the world and win an NBA title. MARAVICH Sr. was delighted that his son shared the same passion for basketball. And the most crucial thing to Press was for Pete to instill the habit of being one with the ball. He made him carry it everywhere with him, even keeping the ball in his bed when he went to sleep. Some of Press's methods would be considered.
A lot of shows do that today. If it's something about basketball, they always show like the student keeping that ball with them all day, taking that ball with them everywhere they go. So that came from Pistol Pete too.
Brutal in today's age, but Pete did everything with pleasure, wanting to prove that he could do anything with the ball. Pete dribbled while riding a bicycle, with his right hand on the way to school and with his left on the way home. He would kneel in the back seat of the car with his head out the window and dribble while his father slowly drove. On the way back,
Dog, Pistol Pete was serious with it. Dribble with your right hand while driving the bike to school. Dribble with your left hand while driving the bike home. Head out the window, dribbling the ball while dad drive home. Come on, man. You can't compete with nobody putting that type of time in. I get it now. I understand it. I get it. You cannot compete. That's some of that stuff before Kobe Bryant. That's all that practice put you so far ahead of the competition. Come on, man.
he would switch to the other side and dribble with his other hand. MARAVICH even took the ball to the movies, and despite people cursing at the bouncing noise, Pete was relentless. When his son was 9, Press started coaching at Clemson University, and he would always bring Pete to practice movies. And despite people cursing at the bouncing noise, Pete was relentless. When his son was 9,
Cub, can you picture yourself in there watching the movie, scary movie? You trying to get close to your little honey dip, and all you can hear is a basketball dribbling during the movie. Come on, man. For real, Pistol Pete. That's how we coming. That's how we coming. Y'all, that's wild. That's how we coming. Come on now. That's wild right there.
Press started coaching at Clemson University, and he would always bring Pete to practices and games. And despite being 10 years younger than the players his father was coaching, Pete routinely challenged Clemson's players in shooting competitions and would almost always win. MARAVICH became so proficient with the ball that he could spin it on his fingers for hours, a feat that some of the current NBA superstars can't do for 15 seconds.
It's there.
And even though Jason Williams made the elbow pass famous, Pete used to pass with his elbows before he hit puberty. MARAVICH quickly started participating in 5-on-5 practices at Clemson. And when one of the assistant coaches brought his friend Bob Cousy, a Celtics legend, Cousy couldn't believe what he was seeing. After one of Pete's passes, Cousy stopped the game and shouted, "Who the hell is that kid?" Pete became so good that he started playing on a varsity high school team at the age of 12. Opponents didn't guard him at first.
Oh, this cat was so far. He pretty much put himself through basketball college with his dad playing, retiring, and coaching, then going to the college and playing with those, shooting around with them guys. He probably logged his 10,000 hours way before anybody. Way. I'm talking about, they say 10,000 hours makes you a professional at whatever you put those hours into. So I'm thinking about, he did a lot of basketball training by default, right? So he was way ahead of anybody. So it's not surprising that his level of play surpassed anybody. You feel me? It's not surprising at all. I think they looked at how young he was, but man, you think about young people got more time than anybody. They don't have to worry about working or anything. So it makes sense when you think about it, right? When you think about it, it makes sense.
Because they thought it was a joke. Hell is that kid? Pete became so good that he started playing on a varsity high school team at the age of 12. Opponents didn't guard him at first because they thought it was a joke to play against a skinny little kid until he started making shots. Then they started taking him seriously and covering him tightly. But Pete would just dribble past him and score regardless. In 1962, when Pete was 16, Press got hired as an assistant at NC State, and that's when Pete got his nickname. At that time, MARAVICH Jr. was not yet physically mature, and due to his lack of strength, he shot the ball from the hip with an outstretched arm that resembled holding a pistol. Thus, Pistol Pete was born.
So he used to take the ball and go down like this and shoot like this, and it resembled to this person, the guy drawing. So he said, yeah, it looks like he's shooting, with a pistol.
Pete graduated.
Guys, y'all remember that when we were young and we shot that ball, your arm strength was not where it would be later on as you age, right? Your arm strength was very weak. And I don't know why that ball just seemed like it was heavy back in the day. So you had to alter your shot to get the shot up. Short, tall, we just didn't have the strength. So a lot of us, I know, man, a lot of my friends shoot off the shoulder. Like you said, some of them look like we were shooting from the waistline. I mean, you wasn't strong enough to just hoist that ball and do the wrist action, right? That came from a lot. That came from getting older, the strength that you just gradually that you normally have when you're older. So it makes sense. The name, hence the name. He looked like he was shooting a pistol when he shot his shot because he's coming from the hip with it. That makes sense.
In 1965, but due to his weight of just 130 pounds, his father decided he should spend a year in prep school to get physically ready for college. Pete then attended Edwards Military Institute, where he averaged 33 points per game. Now standing at 6'5", Pete was absolutely unstoppable. And despite still being fairly slender, weighing just 160 pounds, he was sought after by every major university in the country. Pete could have chosen any college he wanted, but press used every available tactic to convince him to go to LSU, where he became the head coach in 1966. He gave me a contract and said, "Sign it, or I'd never have to come home again." "Dad, you know I'm not going with you unless you buy me a car," Pete said. Press eventually relented, took out a loan, and bought him a car, after which the Pistol joined LSU. However, because NCAA rules at the time did not allow freshmen, regardless of their talent, to play for the varsity team, Pete was forced to play only with the freshmen. In his first game, MARAVICH put up 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against Southeastern Louisiana.
Dog, look at that stat line. 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists. He was the whole team. 50 points, 14 rebounds, 11 assists. Triple-double. First game. All right then. Cold-blooded.
College. The word of his talents to play only with the freshmen. In his first game, MARAVICH put up 50 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists against Southeastern Louisiana College. The word of his talent spread quickly, and the crowd at LSU would often watch the freshman games and then leave once Pete's game was over, showing little interest in watching the varsity team. Pete averaged 43.6 points per game and led the freshmen to a 17-1 record that season, while the varsity team, led by Press, had a record of 3-23. In his sophomore year, when he joined the varsity team, Pete transformed from a local hero to a national sensation, dribbling through his own and opponent's legs, passing behind his back, no-look passes, and torching every opponent that came across him. MARAVICH was a must-see spectacle. Even in the
Dude, think about going 17-1 as a freshman at the same college that your dad is coaching at, and your dad went 3-23. Can you imagine dad coming home every evening and looking at his son like, God dog it? Dag nabbit? You know what I mean? You really wish your son could play for you, but he can't. Because I don't care how talented you are. They said they're gonna stick you. Your first year you're a freshman. You can't play with the varsity. So I'm like, wow. So the son actually had a better first year than dad. Ain't that something? Crazy.
Where football had passing behind his back, no-look passes, and torching every opponent that came across him, MARAVICH was a must-see spectacle. Even in the South, where football had always been the undisputed king among sports, everybody went completely crazy for basketball because of MARAVICH. The Pistol averaged 43.8 points as a sophomore, 44.2 as a junior, and 44.5 points in his senior year, averaging 44.2 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 5.1 assists per game. He directly contributed to more than 60% of all LSU points during his tenure. But despite his brilliance, the Tigers never qualified for the March Madness. With 3,667 points, MARAVICH is still the all-time NCAA leader in points scored, despite playing only 3 seasons and without a three-point line. Analysts later calculated that his overall average would have risen to 57 points if three-pointers were counted, because he made 12 field goals per game from a distance greater than the later set three-point.
No three-pointers. It's like what they were saying, the line wasn't even in for Bird to shoot three-pointers. So Pete was shooting some long jumpers, 12 shots from deep every game. 40-something in the junior, 40-something in the sophomore, junior, and senior year. 40-something points, averaging 40-something points, guys. The boy was cold-blooded. He cold.
line. By the time he finished college, Pistol Pete was the most well-known player in the country, and he had plenty of options for continuing his career. He was contacted by half of the ABA teams, many NBA teams, and even the Harlem Globetrotters, who offered him $1 million to join them. MARAVICH dribbled the ball like a Globetrotter. He shot the ball better than all of them, and he knew every basketball trick in the book. Between his legs, behind the back, dribbling two balls at the same time, you name it, Pistol Pete was doing it. If he had joined the Globetrotters, he would have been the first white member, but he would have fit right in because he had a unique skill set. However, his dream was to play in the NBA like his dad, and the Pistol was selected with the 3rd pick by the Atlanta Hawks in the stacked 1970 NBA draft.
We are most happy to announce.
Hold on, we're not gonna shoot. Let's see what that's worth right quick. Let's do a little bit of math right quick. Y'all just sit with me. Just sit right there with me, guys. Let's see what's okay. I did the math. They offered him $1 million, Harlem Globetrotters. So he was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. I guess they was in Atlanta at the time in 1970. So $1 million in 1970 is like $8 million. It has the buying power of $8.42 million today. So $8,420,000, right? That's how much that $1 million could buy back then. Wow. Dude, in order for them to give you that type of money, I don't know how many years that contract would have been, but they were throwing some money at this boy right here. You feel me? Pistol Pete, they threw the bag at you, cuz. But like you said, he wanted to be in the NBA like his dad. So I feel, he didn't settle for Harlem Globetrotters. He would have been the only white player there. But that still wasn't following in his dad's footsteps. So I get it. He went to the NBA.
Play in the NBA like his dad, and the Pistol was selected with the 3rd pick by the Atlanta Hawks in the stacked 1970 NBA draft.
We are most happy to announce that Pete Maravich will play professional basketball for the Atlanta Hawks.
Atlanta Hawks, baby.
Gave Pete an astronomical contract of $1.9 million for 5 seasons at almost $400,000 a year. That was 10 times the NBA average salary at the time. Pete also
10 times the average NBA salary back then. Hold up. Let's see. About 16 million. Let's see what this worth. Yeah, about 16 million. I guess, I just wanted to make sure before I said this on video. Yeah, so roughly got like 16. In today's time, it was 1.9 back then, which they say was about 400,000 a year. In today's time, that would be like 16 million, right? Which would be about, let's see, a little under 4 million a year for 5 years. Yeah. Dang, boy. Woo. Crazy bread.
astronomical contract of $1.9 million for 5 seasons at almost $400,000 a year. That was 10 times the NBA average salary at the time. Pete also signed many endorsement deals, shot commercials, and became a superstar as an NBA rookie, which didn't sit too well with the rest of the Hawks players. They didn't look at him as a beloved star and savior, but a braggadocious white kid with a huge contract who didn't deserve their respect. He wasn't just a great white hope for Atlanta, but for the entire NBA. The problem was also in the management. They didn't want to pay $60,000 to bring Lenny Wilkens to us, and for this guy, even millions are not a problem. said Lou Hudson, the Hawks'
Wow.
all-star small forward. Sometimes he would pay the bill at dinner, and they would criticize him for showing off and wasting money. And when he didn't pay, they would say he had all that money and was a stingy a-hole. There were problems off the court and on the court because of his style of play. MARAVICH continued to play in the NBA just like he did in college, running around the court, performing all sorts of trickery with the ball, and throwing unexpected passes to teammates. So the ball often hit him in the head or went out of bounds. One time, we could have played a quick counterattack, and he just rolled the ball on the floor. I couldn't believe it and just let it go out of bounds. The coach was mad at me because I didn't pick up the ball. And why did he roll it? Let him do that in the Harlem Globetrotters. Lou Hudson recounted in a situation that perfectly reflected the relations in the team. Pete averaged 23.2 points and 4.4 assists in his rookie season. But for the first time in his career, he didn't enjoy playing basketball. Unlike in college, the main question for...
I know you didn't. You getting paid more? You getting paid more, right? You got older people that ain't really studying that. People that's already been on the team, or like I said, the Lenny player was getting ready to come over. They couldn't find $60,000 for him, but if they found millions for you, they call you the Great White Hope. Black people are already struggling to land jobs and wealth. Yeah, I can see it. I can see it separating the team. And then if you pay for the meal, they say if you pay for the meal, you're showing off. You're a show off. You're an asshole. If you don't pay for the meal, you got all this money. So man, that could make anybody unhappy. That could make anybody not enjoy something that they love with all these different variables going on around it. Race was playing something, jealousy, I don't know, you know what I mean? You could find money for this man, you couldn't find money for this man. So that's probably race. You found millions for this white guy, but you couldn't find 60,000 for this black guy. So race was already a high thing back then because black people were getting treated like bottom of the barrel back then. So I just know race that I can just imagine being on that team and not enjoying that at all. Not enjoying it. That's my opinion. I'm just saying, I wouldn't enjoy that. I'd be like Pistol Pete.
Fans was no longer how many points did Pete score, but it's in his rookie season. But for the first time in his career, he didn't enjoy playing basketball. Unlike in college, the main question for fans was no longer how many points did Pete score, but did the Hawks win? And the answer, more often than not, was they didn't. The Hawks had a losing record in the regular season, and in the playoffs, they were quickly eliminated in the first round by the Knicks. Pete averaged 22 points in the series, but shot a poor 37% from the field. The media and fans altered the context of the nickname Pistol Pete, portraying MARAVICH as a gunslinger who prioritized his numbers. Pete took those claims personally, and in 1972, his sophomore year, he took 4 fewer shots, averaging 19.3 points, but his assists numbers went up, with 6 dimes per game. He also contracted mononucleosis, causing him to lose 20 pounds, which certainly had an impact on his game. That year, the Hawks won only 36 games, the same as the previous year. And in the first round of the playoffs, they were once again knocked out pretty easily, despite MARAVICH scoring 28 points per game. But in his third year, Pete was tired of trying to be liked by his teammates. He started doing what he knew best, being...
That's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you dim your light. You dim your light so that others can shine. I get you. But then that didn't work. So I'm hoping here that he just turned into who he really is. Just take the game over. Because if people are not going to be happy with you anyway, you might as well be yourself. That's something I done learned. Do not change for nobody. If people are not going to be happy for you anyway, you might as well be yourself. At least you can rest your head on you did it your way. You know what I'm saying? You change for somebody, they upset. You don't change, they upset. You give to them, they're upset. You don't give enough, they're upset. Man, just be who you are. So I'm hoping that. I hope that's what we're fixing to hear.
pretty easily, despite Maravich scoring 28 points per game. But in his third year, Pete was tired of trying to be liked by his teammates. He started doing what he knew best, being a wizard with the basketball.
There you
Maravich
go.
averaged 26.1 points and 6.9 assists per game, earning his first All-Star team selection and a point on the second All-NBA team. The Hawks won 46 games.
There
But
you go.
in the playoffs, the John Havlicek-led Celtics were too strong once again, winning the series in 6 games. In his fourth year, the Pistol
Man, the Celtics has always been a powerhouse. The Celtics and the Lakers, come on, man. They always been powerhouse. It's just, and they always had a lot of star talent. So, I mean, them teams just hard to beat.
improved his scoring, averaging 27.7 points per game, the second best mark in the league, and made another All-Star team. However, the Hawks plummeted to a 35-47 record, failing even to make the playoffs. It was clear that the marriage between Pete and Atlanta wasn't working out. So the Hawks traded him to the New Orleans Jazz,
Dang.
an expansion team from Louisiana. The Jazz needed a proven star to sell tickets and establish the franchise, and no one was better than Maravich, a local hero from LSU. The Jazz gave the Hawks 2 players and 4 draft picks for Maravich, who regained all the power and the rock star status. But just a few months later, his world began to crumble. His mother had been in a bad mental state for a long time. She was neglected in a family that lived for basketball while she felt excluded. And in late 1974, her struggles ended in tragedy as she took her own life. After that,
God. So mom probably felt overlooked because basketball was probably the main topic. Dad coached, son played. She probably felt like she fell through a crack, or that's what they saying, like she was overlooked. So she probably felt like she was in a crack or fell through a crack. And that messed with her mental side. Dang, boy.
Pete began to reevaluate his life and career, and more than ever, he wanted to achieve his dream and win a ring. So he began to transform into a more team-oriented player rather than a star. However, the Jazz were a new franchise with few quality players, and Pete, despite his desire to win and play team ball, had to do everything again.
Yeah,
In 1976, the Pistol averaged 26 points and made the first All-NBA team. In 1977, he led the league in scoring with 31.1 points per game, finishing third in the MVP voting behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton. On February
Hold up, that was a pretty good list right there.
77, he led the league in scoring with 31.1 points per game, finishing third in the MVP voting behind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton. On
Dude, he was right behind Kareem and Bill Walton. He was like third. That cat was putting up some buckets, man. You go to a new team, you want to play team ball. It's like everybody does their thing for a while, but then they, like even when Jordan was like, he was so dominant. But in order to get those darn rings, yes, he was still dominant, but it took a team. The rings is a team thing. It's going to be rare that one man will you to the ring or rings. That's going to be team effort. Because it's going to be hard for one man to beat 5. You feel me? So he went from being that scorer. He was third, in the list. That's that's just buckets. That's buckets on buckets right there, cuz. You want to go to playing team ball, but you're the best player on the team. So you still end up doing a lot of things. That's what I meant to say a while ago. So I can see it's been a lot of hills and valleys in his career thus far. You know what I mean? Not to mention losing your mom.
On February 25th, 1977, Pistol Pete scored 68 points against the Knicks, which at the time was the 7th highest scoring game of all time and the highest scoring game ever by a guard.
Here's a basket for him if he can convert.
Got him, Pistol.
68 for Maravich. And a steal. Look at him fight for this ball. The Pistol's doing it all.
Uh-oh.
Great ball game.
That feat is even more impressive when we know that he was guarded by Walt Frazier, one of the premier defensive guards of the 70s, and that he scored 68 without a three-pointer. But the Jazz didn't make the playoffs for the 3rd consecutive year, and Pete
He scored 68 points without a 3-point. Without 3-point play, cuz. Buckets.
Walt Frazier, one of the premier defensive guards of the 70s, and that he scored 68 without a three-pointer. But the Jazz didn't make the playoffs for the third consecutive year, and Pete was getting desperate, willing to do anything to win. In 1978, MARAVICH played the best all-around season of his career, averaging 27 points, 6.7 assists, and a career-high 2 steals per game. He would have probably led the league in scoring once again, and likely even pushed the Jazz to the playoffs. But then, unfortunately, he injured his knee halfway through the season and was forced to miss the final 32 games of the season. Before he got hurt, the Jazz had a winning record, thanks to a 10-game winning streak. After MARAVICH went down, they lost 8 in a row, and their playoff hopes were shot. To make things worse, the Pistol hurt his other knee in the offseason and missed 33 games in 1979, averaging 22 points per game. The Jazz missed the playoffs again, and the owner decided to move the franchise to Salt Lake City, where the current Utah Jazz were founded in 1979. Due to persistent knee problems, Pete was often unable to practice. A new coach, Tom Nasalki, believed that if he couldn't practice, he couldn't play. Adrian
Dog, nobody asked for a knee injury, cuz. And I'm talking about back-to-back knee injuries, right? One ending 1 year and the other one hitting the other year up. Nobody asked to be injured, but it's crazy how you get treated after you're injured back then. Dang. And then on a 10-game winning streak, you go down, they lose the next 8. You talking about that locker room was sad up in there, boy. And the Jazz moved to Utah, where they are at right now. And the coach talking about if you can't practice, you can't play. Boy, I done told it y'all on my mother back all this time. And you gonna do me like this? Practice? Practice? I'm like, hey, I practice? That what we talking about? I don't need practice.
Dantley emerged as the new star, and the Jazz fired MARAVICH in January 1980. As a free agent, he was picked up by the Boston Celtics, along with the man who would take his role of the NBA's great white hope, Larry Bird. Pistol accepted a supporting role, mostly coming off the bench, while one rule change finally unlocked his biggest weapon, shooting. The NBA introduced the three-point line that season, and MARAVICH made 10 of 15 attempts, shooting an unreal 67% from three. After 10 years in the league, Pistol Pete finally won a playoff series as the Celtics swept the Sixers in the first round. However, Pistol's knees were shot, pun intended, and he was able to play just 9 minutes per game, during which he scored 6 points on average, making 61% of his shots. In the second round, the Celtics lost to the Sixers in 5 games, and Game 5 of the series was the final game of Pistol Pete's legendary career. He retired at the age of 32, just like his father, with career averages of 24.2 points, 4.2 rebounds, and 5.3 assists. At the time of his retirement, he was the 7th leading scorer of all time, and he's currently 25th in points per game. And even though the Celtics wanted to re-sign him for the 1981 season, MARAVICH feared that his knees would give up, and he didn't want to be the version of himself far below his basketball talent. And when the Celtics won the 81 title without him, Pete fell into a deep depression because he realized he could have achieved his lifelong dream, after which he became addicted to alcohol.
Dog, that was a slap in the face. We all get choices in life, right? You get to make decisions. And y'all excuse me, I'm not saying much. I'm just leaning into the story. It's a real good story. But to know that the knees gave you a problem, 78, 79, 80. You could have signed for the 81 season. You did the 81 season, and you didn't. And then they go on to win a ring. Come on, fam. Bop. Man, come on, man. Oh, yeah, that would have made me depressed for a while. I would have been kind of depressed. I ain't gonna even lie. I know they say pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep moving forward in life, but that would have made me kind of, I ain't lying.
Went down the same path. Untitled, without him, Pete fell into a deep depression because he realized he could have achieved his lifelong dream, after which he became addicted to alcohol and nearly went down the same path as his mother. It took him several years to recover, but through faith and the support of his family, he bounced back. In 1987, Pete was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and in January 1988, MARAVICH traveled to California to be interviewed by evangelical author and psychologist James Dobson for his radio show. He and his friends were playing basketball in a local church gym. And during the game, Maravich collapsed on the floor. Dobson said that his last words before he died were, "I feel great." An autopsy revealed that Maravich had been born with a heart defect, lacking a left coronary artery, and the other artery had been compensating for the defect during his entire career. In one
Wow. He didn't have a left coronary artery the whole time. All this time he been playing all that basketball. You couldn't have known that for nothing in the world. Man, his story got the hills and valleys, boy. Hey, that's why they say don't envy nobody. Don't be jealous of nobody walk of life. You look at somebody and be like, oh my God, I want that. Why can't I have that? You don't know what people go through to get what they got, to keep what they have, to be who they are. You don't know what they go through. You know what I mean? You just don't know or what they're gonna go through. Appreciate the life you have. So I mean, I just think about how talented he was and never could quite get over the hump. And y'all saw his star power. I mean, all the moves he had. He was Steph Curry before Steph. He was Kyrie Irving before Kyrie Irving. He was Magic Johnson before Magic. I seen Magic say, Magic said, I paid attention to the move and the star power that Pete had. And he said, I got some moves from Pete. So everybody looks at somebody and say, wow, can I do that? Let me try that. And puts it into their game. So I thought that was a beautiful moment. You know what I mean? Everybody's learning from everybody in real time, whether we admit it or not. You feel me?
In an interview in 1974, Pete said, I don't want to play in the NBA for 10 years and then die of a heart attack at 40. But unfortunately, that's precisely what happened.
Wow. I don't want to play 10 years in the NBA and die of a heart attack at the age of 40. Wow. To utter something in an interview and then for it to play out that way, man, your words got power.
Heart attack at 40. But unfortunately, that's precisely what happened, as he played for 10 years and passed away 6 months after his 40th birthday. But despite passing too soon, Pistol Pete's legacy is alive and well, as many of the skills he showcased during the 70s are now used in the NBA. If you look at LaMelo Ball's underhand full court pass, it's nearly identical to Maravich's from the 70s.
Rebound. Maravich with an underhanded pass over to Stumpy, and Goodrich goes for two.
Magic Johnson was famous for his no-look passes, but Maravich did that first.
Behind the back, how do you do? A little showtime.
Man, look at that.
Rajon Rondo was famous for his behind-the-back fake pass, but you guessed it, the Pistol did it 40 years earlier.
God.
Boy, he's got all kinds of moves. What move doesn't...
Turnaround jumper like MJ, or readjusting his jump shot midair like Larry Bird, it was all routinely done by the Pistol.
Pistol fires. Oh, come on.
Maravich was a trendsetter who inspired generations. And if your favorite ball handler didn't learn from the Pistol, they likely stole some moves from someone who stole
somebody else who stole from Pete.
When he played the game, the NBA was dominated by centers like Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem, and guards like him were unicorns. Other than Jerry West, nobody else attempted that many jump shots, let alone made them with great accuracy.
It takes some strength, some stamina, and power to shoot that many shots in the game. I mean, you hear all the NBA players say it, because you're jumping. Your legs, when your legs gone, your shot is gone. So to have the stamina to jump that many times, shoot that many shots in the game, every game, that's let's say something about that kind of athlete you are, for real, for real. You ain't got to take my word and let the players say that.
Too many can shoot off the dribble better than Pistol Pete.
With an unbelievable floater and layup game, finishing with both hands, killer handles, and the ability to both score and pass, Pistol Pete played a brand of basketball 30 or 40 years ahead of his time. If he played in the three-point era, he would likely average around 30 points per game. And if he had played on a better team, he could have easily been an MVP multiple times and won several championships. And since he was the greatest ball handler of his era, having learned everything himself, Pete Maravich is arguably the most talented guard of all time.
I'm not a greedy person. I don't care to have 10 rings. I just want one.
Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, we have another one for you right here. Maravich is arguably...
Pete Maravich said, I'm not a greedy person. I don't care to have 10 rings. I just want one. It's just one little part I want to show y'all again. Like, where is it? Let's see.
It's nearly identical to Maravich's from the 70s.
That's where.
But despite passing
This
too
is where I
soon,
was.
Pistol Pete's legacy is alive and well, as many of the skills he showcased during the 70s are now used in the NBA. If you look at LaMelo Ball's underhand full-court pass, it's nearly identical to Maravich's from the
LaMelo Ball underhand full court pass. Only person that does that, right? What people might say an unorthodox, because it's not what people normally do today. But that underhand pass, you got so much control of it because you know just by where it's gonna fall by the way you throw it. It's way easier to calculate, even though people don't want you to do that. You know what I'm saying? And just having the wit about yourself to not care what other people think and do it your way, LaMelo. But then you go back, and Pete did it, 40 years ago, right?
70s.
Off the chain.
Magic Johnson was famous for his
The
no-look
no-look
passes,
pass.
but Maravich did that first.
Behind the back, how do you do? A little showtime there.
Magic even gave props to Pete. He said he got that from Pete. You feel me?
Rajon Rondo was famous for his behind-the-back fake pass, but you guessed it, the Pistol did it 40 years earlier.
Dude, I love that pass when Rondo did it. You don't know how many of my friends or people I just knew, we all did that fake pass behind the back layup that Rondo did. You know what I mean? And come to find out, Pistol Pete did it first. Cool.
Boy, he's got all kinds of moves. What move doesn't
Turnaround jumper like MJ, or readjusting his jump shot midair like Larry Bird, it was all routinely done by the Pistol.
Pistol fires.
MJ and Bird, right? MJ, Bird, Magic, any of our favorite players, some of the moves they did were already done by Pete. And Pete taught himself these things. So arguably, well, the best guard ever. So man, if y'all like this video, man, don't forget to hit that hype button. It helps small creators to spread the videos to other people. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to jump in them comments and let me know what you think about this video of Pistol Pete. Shout out to the real creator. The link to this video will be in the description because we always don't give props to whoever did whatever. You feel me? It's not my work. I'm just reacting to it. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed this video. I hope y'all did too. So, like I said, don't forget to jump in the comments and let me know what you think about Pistol Pete Maravich's life in basketball, man. It's your boy KJ, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Peace.